Hello, book friends. This is Dan, and I want to tell you a little bit about my experience so far with booktube. I guess I could have made this a PS, although I'm not sure I've earned the right yet. I haven't been on here very long. However, I do seem to have gotten it all by the wrong end of the stick, as usual. And that was my intention for the original title for this, An Invitation to the Wrong End of the Stick. And I am going to issue an invitation. However, I went with the clickbait of why I'm not leaving. Because I saw many people are leaving. I haven't watched their videos, so I'm not sure the reasons why. I can guess maybe a couple of them, I think. But I am not leaving. However, I am trying to use BookTube perhaps in a way that might seem a little bit different to some of you, or maybe most of you even. And that's okay. I'm used to being on the wrong end of the stick, although I had hoped to, with being among Bookish clan, to be a little more in my element. However, I think the reasons are many. And this is not to put a judgment on anything that others are doing, just to say why I won't be doing some of those things probably, and invite you to maybe do a couple things perhaps a little bit differently. If you're at all interested in participating in my little future imagined, wished for corner of BookTube. I'm not trying to change BookTube. So I got on, and I came to it by finding scallydagging and some people who were very much along my similar lines of thought and interests. And then when I started looking at BookTube, as a bigger thing, searching, I still don't know how to search very well. I'm older, and technology is not, not my passion. But I think that the key is just to spend a lot of time with BookTube, and then you eventually, little by little, you find, people you really resonate with. And so I've started to find some, and that's been wonderful. But I'll give you just some initial impressions. So I thought that it seemed like it was a bit more on the tube than on the book part, in the mainstream BookTube, which is fine. And actually, I should have anticipated that. But I am very much on the book side. The tube, this is just a format for us to have, I hope, a discussion, which is what I'm suggesting, rather than just, popularity contests or all that kind of thing. I did look at the people who did post, how should I say, how-tos or, gave useful advice to new booktubers. And it was, all the ones I found anyway, were nothing on the substantive end or content. It was really all about the bells and whistles. So right viscerally, right off the bat, you could see I'm very different from other booktubers. I have no books behind me. I do have a good camera and microphone because I am doing this from my work studio. So I'm very lucky to be able to do that. I teach in Bangkok, but I teach students in the deep south of Thailand, which is a Muslim area. And foreign teachers apparently don't like to go down there, so they have to get their native teachers virtually. So we work in our studios here, about 20 of us from all over the world, English-speaking world, and we give our lessons to the students down there in the south of Thailand. So that's kind of nice. It's not a bad job at all, and I have this tech, but tech's not my main interest. I read old books. I read books that I find to hand. Because I am always traveling. I've been abroad most of my adult life. I'm in a carry-on bag. All my worldly possessions, pretty much. I have one box of my mom's, I think, or my brother's. But so now that used to be, I would fill that bag with books. But as I've gotten larger in size, and especially in Asia, places I can't find clothing, now I have to give up my precious baggage to clothes. So I don't have any books with me. So I'm very dependent on what I find. I do have a Bangkok library card, got that, so I'm proud to have that. But they have, I think, one, you would all cry if you saw it. I think one or two shelves of books in English. I don't read in Thai. I could read French or Spanish, So where I was living in Honduras before here, I could read all the books that I found. But here, it's only what I can find in English. Now, there are some, used bookstores. One that has English, a certain number of English books, tend to be beach books, so thrillers, not so much my thing. There are, of course, great new bookstores, but I've never been one purchasing all the books. So I think that's another big thing that I'm guessing some people leave BookTube about, because it does seem like very few people are doing, a single book video. They've got 3 books or 10 books or 40 books. I've read 1,000 books in the last month or whatever it is. It always reminds me of like those college parties, when people were just getting new to drinking and they were like, oh, I drank 8 beers and 3 shots or whatever their count was. I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of anyone except those college kids. But anyway, yeah, so for me, perhaps because I'm a writer and, I was listening to an interview the other day with Karen Desai. She says, her books take her 10 years, 7 years. I'm similar. I'm lucky that I write a bunch of other things in between, but, my serious books, they take that long. They're your babies, right? So you really want them to be preciously handled, just, given your full attention. So my videos are going to be mostly one-off, just about one book. Some people, I've gone on their sites, I don't see any postings really with just one book at all. They're all, groups of books, and that's fine. But I think it's, people are a little concerned about some of the consumerism or that kind of thing. That's, YouTube, right? I mean, like all the other genres of YouTube, I guess, they have the unboxings and all of that. So I shouldn't be surprised that that exists in BookTube as well. Anyway, not for me. And also, I think I really got the wrong end of the stick in this. But here's where, and making this video to ask you sort of for feedback, to let me know what you think, if my plan is crazy, or maybe you could suggest other plans, but I think I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. So I don't do spoiler alerts. It's all about the how, not the what, when, why, where, that kind of thing. For me, and these books that I do, most of them will be very old books. So, sorry about spoilers. I guess that's a big thing I noticed. But yeah, I'm very much interested in having discussions about the book. So the idea being like we're not a book swap, but we're a book group. So we come together to like discuss the book for an hour, one book for an hour. And so you've read it and I've read it, and I'm going to throw some questions at you. What I would love to get back is your feedback, your ideas about those questions, and your own questions back. And so this way, you're in my comments with your videos, and I'm in your comments with mine, and we get a back and forth, several videos about a book. I think this would be really exciting. Also, don't want to be Dan. I don't want to be a thing that you come to look at me. I want to be found for the book. You're looking for, someone who's read, Don Quixote or whatever. And then you see my Don Quixote, and then I give this sort of discussion of it. Picking out themes and characters and that sort of stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it all. No judgment on anybody else, but I wonder if anyone else is interested in that. I have now started finding people who are interested in world literature and interested in classics and things like that. So happy to start finding that. I read sci-fi and mysteries and all that, and fantasy as well, and thrillers. I mean, all of it pretty much, nonfiction, not romance too much, although I did once. But anyway, I was in my auntie's trailer in her room. It was full of romance novels. I was a budding young lad, so I discovered romance novels. So yeah, so I read most things, but people are so passionate that like sci-fi people did sci-fi, that's what they do, and they know all about it. I don't have that sort of level of I guess dedication to it. So I feel like trespasser, I guess, a little bit in those forums. So sort of stick to my lane, which is going to be more or less world fiction. A lot of you I'm seeing are doing all contemporary books, a lot of contemporary books. I don't read them that much. I am like a couple people I saw that like to let time sort out some of that. So I don't end up reading a lot of books that, are the sort of hot topic, but maybe aren't going to endure and that I might not enjoy. So after 50 years or so, it's sort of sorted out, right? A lot of those books get forgotten, and I can hope that most of the books that I'm reading are high quality books. So that's why I read older books. Plus, I'm poor and I don't buy new books. I just don't, have the income. I've been a volunteer teacher my whole life, and so yeah. And also, I like to keep the books in circulation. I'm an old hippie, socialist, Buddhist. Keep it moving, keep the books moving. I would love to have a shelf behind me. I have shelf envy every time I'm looking at your books in the background. So I'm not hating on anyone here, but I'm just going to try and do things maybe a little bit differently. I hope some of you will join me, and thank you for that. Oh, and tags. I see all these great tags too, and I've come to realize, I guess, I'm supposed to get tagged, and then I can answer it. So I think I did one mistakenly. Sorry. But yeah, so tag me with all these great tags. I would love to. So hopefully some of you will give me a few more one-off review, discussion type books. Discussion more than review, I think, because a review can get very sort of, hyperbolic. It's better to get into the nitty-gritty. Not a super close reading necessarily, although I think, we should have, pull out some bits, for talking about their amazing style and, perhaps give me an example of how and why that style is amazing. Just a short, blurb from it. So that's what I'm looking to do, and I hope that you will join me, and thank you for indulging my little rant here. See you soon.